Sorry, let me start. So hello guys, I think my mic now is okay. So hello guys and welcome back to another live stream. So we've decided that we'll be doing talk shows in live streams. And in our talk show today, we are going to do our Premier League prediction. We are going to do our Premier League prediction. We are going to actually try and predict where we expect Chelsea to finish this season. We are going to look at the teams that are going to finish in the top four, who is going to win the Premier League, which teams are actually going to reach the next level and actually surprise dark horses in this season. So I can see very nice comments from you, and I'd really like to give you my predicted lineup. So I'm going to take 30 seconds to actually set up my table and actually begin the analysis of each team and where I actually expect Chelsea to finish next season. This season, it's quite an unpredictable season compared to all the other seasons we've had at Chelsea. This season is more like a banana skin. We don't know where we're actually going to finish. So it is quite unpredictable. Nobody knows where they expect Chelsea to finish. Nobody knows whether we expect Chelsea to actually perform better than they did last season. And this is actually creating a lot of problems to a lot of fans, because nobody can really pinpoint, are you going to get a Chelsea that is going to perform, or are you going to get a Chelsea that is going to struggle? So again, we remind you again to hit the like, share and subscribe button as we actually begin our prediction on where we expect Chelsea to finish this season. This is going to be an interesting season for Chelsea, and it's actually going to be a pivotal point when we are trying to actually analyze where do we think Chelsea is either going to improve or it's not going to improve. So, is there background music? Sorry. I didn't know there's a background music. Let me mute it. Sorry, I didn't know there's a background music. So I think now it's okay. So we can, hi Nico. So let's try and look at where Chelsea is going to finish. So first of all, we need to understand that there is a lot of things that are yet to be sorted out at Chelsea. We don't know whether we are going to. First of all, the squad is so huge, and if the squad is so huge, you can actually face problems that Graham Potter faced at Chelsea. And Potter faced the problem whereby the squad was too huge. He didn't know which players to pick. The dressing room was not enough, and therefore he had to actually try and have some players play with the reserve team, and that was causing disharmony within the team. So we don't want to find ourselves where we found ourselves with Potter. So the first step that needs to be done by the club is actually to trim down that squad. That squad should be trimmed from the 40 players that they have to actually 23 players. We need a core of 23 players who are actually going to represent Chelsea. But that is not what we are going to talk about. That is something that you're going to do, to talk about on Thursday. We are actually going to talk about it on Thursday and actually come up and actually look at the team that Enzo Maresca should present to the Premier League. You know, there is a maximum of 23 players that you can actually present, and Chelsea need to present those players before the closure of the transfer window. So let's begin. So I'm going to try and pick the team that I expect to finish in 10th place. And this team that I expect to finish in 10th place might surprise you. And the team that I'm picking for 10th place will surprise you, but I'm actually going to pick it. And the team that I'm actually going to pick for 10th place is a team that we saw last season actually showing signs that they're actually going to become a very strong team this season. And I want to share my screen and actually show you which team I'm actually going to pick for 10th. Now, my team that I've actually decided to pick for 10th place is Crystal Palace. That is my team. So I've picked Crystal Palace to finish 10th this season because, first of all, I'm looking at how Crystal Palace finished the season last season. They lost they lost Michael Olise, but they have Eze. But the new manager who came in, I established a kind of structure in Crystal Palace. They became so difficult to beat. I remember Liverpool struggled when they went to Villa. I think it's not Villa Park, into Selhurst Park. And also Manchester United really struggled when they went to play against Crystal Palace. I think they lost that game. And looking at how Crystal Palace actually managed to finish the season, how they really played some good football towards the end of the season. And in that prediction, I think that I'm actually going to pick Crystal Palace as the team that is actually going to finish 10th. I believe how they managed to end the season last season, and that momentum and their core of players, the players such as Henderson, I think they played well. And if they manage to actually retain McGuehi, because it's not quite sure whether Newcastle are actually going to pick him. If they manage to maintain him, then you expect Crystal Palace to actually be much better than they were last season. Most of the points they accrued last season was actually towards the tail end of the season. And if they can actually come in with the momentum they had towards the tail end of the season, I actually believe they are the team to actually find themselves in 10th place. Now, let me look at the team that I expect. The main talking points will be looking at the top 6 or the top 8, like nowadays, because we also have outsiders who come in. And I'm going to look at the team that I expect to finish slightly above Crystal Palace, and I'm going to show you this team, my pick for this team. Let me first try and hide it so that I cannot display it for you before. So I'm going to show you the team that I expect to, my prediction for the team that I expect to finish 9th. So my 9th team, I'm going to pick West Ham. That is the team that I'm going to pick to finish 9th. So why am I picking West Ham to finish 9th? I think the signings that West Ham have managed to actually put in are very, very promising. They have managed to retain key players in the squad. I think Mikel Antonio is there, Jared Bowen is there. Also, this player who was being pursued by Manchester City, I'm forgetting his name. He's a South American player. He plays as a number 10. Can somebody remind me the name? There's a player who was being pursued by Manchester City from West Ham. He's a very good player. And West Ham have actually managed to retain him. And they have also made some considerable signings in their squad. And the new manager who has also come in through to West Ham is actually going to make them to move from the kind of football they were playing under David Moyes to a much more possession-based football, and a team that is going to be, Paqueta, thank you. Paqueta is the player. So Paqueta is going to be there. So, and the number of additions that West Ham have brought, I think they are going to be very strong next season. It's not going to be an easy game. I don't remember the last time we won away at West Ham. I don't remember. We lost last season. We lost the season before. We've not been having good results away at West Ham. So even teams like Manchester City have struggled there. Arsenal have also struggled away at West Ham. So I think I don't think he's going to be banned for life, but if he's there, and I've also seen the signings, they have been very ambitious this transfer window, and therefore I expect West Ham to be somehow a bit stronger this season. And before I even join into my top 8, you'll realize that when I'm talking about West Ham, there's a team that a lot of people will be asking. So probably you expected me to place Brighton here. No. Brighton have actually lost De Zerbi, and they're actually moving towards a new manager. And that manager is quite young, is quite inexperienced. I don't expect him to officially kick off in the Premier League because now he'll have to undo some of the things that De Zerbi had put at Brighton, and that transition is actually going to give him a lot of problems. So that is my expectation, and I expect West Ham to actually finish 9th this season. I actually expect West Ham to finish 9th this season. So let me go and give you my predictions for the team that I actually expect to finish 8th, and it's actually going to shock you. The team that I actually expect to finish 8th place, because I'm telling you the competition at the first 8 teams will be very tight. Even Chelsea can finish 8th. Even Manchester United can finish 8th. Even Liverpool, if they don't play well, they can finish 8th. So the positions between position number 3 to position number 8 is very flexible, because the points between these teams will be very, very close. So anybody can finish 8th. So I want to give you my team that I actually think is actually going to finish 8th this season. So there's the team that I want to share now, and yeah, this is the team that I expect to finish 8th this season. I know it's going to come as a shock to most of you, but it's just my prediction, and that is Aston Villa. Aston Villa, I predict Aston Villa to finish 8th. So why do I predict Aston Villa to finish 8th? You know, when majority of these teams that actually break into that top 6 rank, what you realize is that the second season, they are not able to carry on to the momentum they actually built the previous season. We saw it with Leicester. We saw it with Newcastle. We've seen it with the Wolves also. So whenever a team actually manages to break into that top 6, the second season, they are not usually the same team that we used to see. And because of that, I expect that Aston Villa playing in the Champions League will also be fatigued, because I've also not seen their depth of their squad, because they'll be playing in a difficult competition. Remember, the Champions League, you cannot play a team B in the Champions League. You have to go with the first team, because it is the Champions League. And they will suffer the same fate that Newcastle suffered last season playing in the Champions League. And Unai Emery, looking at him, I look at him as a manager who wants to actually go to the Europa League. So when they will play in the Champions League, Unai Emery's main point is that they actually use the Champions League to go to the Europa League, because he knows very well that if they go to the Europa League, then Unai Emery can actually make Aston Villa win the Europa League. He cannot win the Champions League with Aston Villa, but he can actually make them to win the Europa League. So my prediction is that Aston Villa will be good. Yes, they will not fall off, because they will not be 8th because they will be playing bad. They will be 8th because the other teams who are ahead of them will be much better than them. And so I predict them to actually finish 8th and actually win the Europa League. I'm actually predicting Aston Villa to win the Europa League. So that is my prediction for 8th position. Now I'm going to give you my prediction for the team that I expect to finish 7th. The team that I expect to finish 7th, and I'm going to give you their names right now. So this team is very unpredictable, but it's a team that I really expect to finish 7th. So let me present my screen and show you the team that I expect to finish 7th. And here it is. Here it is. So the team that I expect to finish 2nd is Newcastle. So Newcastle this season are not in Europe, and they fell out from Europe because Manchester United won the FA Cup, and so they were not able to play in the Conference League. And I believe that even looking at the signings they have made, they're actually going to improve from where they were last season. So I expect them to be in the 7th place. I don't expect them to break into the top 6. I think the top 6 this season is going to be the traditional top 6. And I expect Newcastle to be the 7th team in that table. So they will play well. The St. James Park will really light them up. But when I look at the teams that are ahead of them, I'm seeing very strong teams that they cannot break into the top 6. I just don't see an outsider into the top 6. They will be strong enough to finish ahead of Aston Villa, because Aston Villa, as I told you, Unai Emery will focus on winning the Europa League. A lot of people are not seeing that angle, but whenever you see Unai Emery coaching a team, and that team is actually in the Champions League, his main aim is usually to have that team. You will find maybe that team will fail to qualify. You will find Aston Villa will fail to qualify to the round of 16 and actually be in a position to actually head to the Europa League. And Unai Emery is a specialist in the Europa League, so he will prefer that Aston Villa goes to the Europa League. And because of that, he will mainly focus all his energies not on the league, but he will focus all his energies in the Europa League and actually try to win it. And that is how Newcastle can actually find himself to be. Newcastle can find themselves to occupy the number 7th position. So that is where I expect Newcastle to be. Now, I'm going to answer your questions in the comment section area one by one. And I want to share the top 6. Now, the top 6 is a very interesting position because from number 1 to number 3, you expect 3 teams. But from number 4, number 5, number 6, it can be either teams. So from the competition between number 1, number 2, and number 3 is a separate competition. But the competition between number 4, number 5, and number 6 can be either team. So I'm going to break down those teams into... in the top 6 into 2 sets. There's the upper 3 and then there's the lower 3. And before I even start that, I would like to make my prediction on the team that I expect to finish 6th. The team that I expect to finish 6th. And looking at that, when you try to break those ranks, you're actually going to have 3 teams and another 3 teams. And either of those teams can finish in either of those positions, meaning that the first 3 teams either can be the champions, either can be the runners-up, either can be the 3rd. And these other 3 teams either can be the 4th, the 5th, the 6th. It is balanced. Different circumstances can actually dictate how each of those teams actually fare on. And I'm going to share with you in the screen the team that I expect to finish 6th. And the team that I expect to finish 6th is this one here. So here's the team, and Tottenham. So I expect Spurs to finish 6th. My prediction for Spurs finishing 6th is because of looking at their overall play. They will be playing in the Europa League next season. And when I look at the squad, it's not quite, the team does not have squad depth, and playing the aggressive, intense, possession-based football under Ange Postecoglou will actually wear that team down. So initially in the season, they will be playing well. So they will acquire a lot of points. But there's also another thing with Spurs. They play that high line. So when they play that high line, a lot of teams will have ways of playing balls over the top and balls behind against Spurs. So Spurs are more likely to concede a lot of goals. They'll be putting a lot of pressure and pressing a lot in this season. And last season, remember, Spurs were not playing in Europe, and still they didn't manage to finish in the top 4. This season, Spurs are playing in the Europa League, so they will be playing on Thursday, and then they will be playing on Sunday. And that is going to take a toll on Spurs this season. How is it going to take a toll on them? Their squad is thin. I have not seen if Spurs have a huge squad depth. You see, like Chelsea, you can actually field 2 teams. You can field a team in the Premier League, and you can field a team in the Conference League. But Spurs, and also the Europa League, has become really tough. Nowadays, you find strong teams in the Europa League. So what you're going to expect is that Spurs is actually going to suffer from fatigue, especially from their key players like Maddison, Son. So they might start well, but when the season starts to get deep, when you enter probably November, December, the Europa League is also there. It's very intense. And also the Europa League, the structure has changed. So the intense moments in the Europa League, complemented with the thin squad, because there will be heavy reliance on players such as Maddison, Kulusevski, Son, and Solanke, you'll realize that these players will start to run out of form. And that is where you can see Spurs dropping some points here and there. But I still expect them they will not win the Europa League, definitely. but you expect them to actually go some steps further, but they will most likely just scramble themselves into 6th position. They will be better off than Newcastle. They'll be better off than Aston Villa. And because they will probably be knocked out in the Europa League, you'll find them scrambling to actually finish 6th. I think they will be able to finish 6th. Now, I want to give you my team that is going to finish 5th. And this is just my prediction. I know some of you might think that it's actually Chelsea. Yeah, it can also be Chelsea. So let me give you my prediction on the team that is actually going to finish 5th. So before I even give you my prediction, can you just give me in the comment section area who do you think I'm going to pick 5th? Because the team that I'm actually going to pick to finish 5th is actually going to tell you whether it's going to be Chelsea, whether Chelsea will finish in the top 4. So I really I am seeing somebody saying Chelsea, number 6, number 5, Chelsea. Somebody is saying Man United. Somebody is saying Chelsea, Liverpool, 5th. A lot of people are like, it's Man United. It's Man United. It's Man United. I think some of you have really gotten it right. So the team that I'm actually going to pick to finish 5th, and it's going to be a close 5th. There it is, drum rolls, Manchester United. So I'm going to pick Manchester United to finish 5th. So why am I picking Manchester United to finish 5th? The reason why I'm picking Manchester United to finish 5th is because, number one, I've not seen a philosophy of play that has been imposed by Erik ten Hag on the team. There is no philosophy of play. Even when you watched the way they played against Manchester City, you didn't know whether they were playing possession-based football or they were playing counter-attacks. The game they played, if they were playing Manchester City or teams like Arsenal or Chelsea or Liverpool every week, then you would expect Manchester United to actually perform well because their football style is usually transition football. It's a football style that entails on hitting other teams on counter-attacks, punishing teams based on their mistakes. And that is not sustainable because Manchester United are only going to play around 5 teams in the league who will dominate the ball against them. So what happens when Manchester United is playing at Southampton, is playing at a Palace, or is playing an Everton, is playing these deep lower blocks teams? What do you expect them? So because Manchester United's playing style does not suit it playing in a league, they can play well in a knockout competition, but when they are playing in a league where they are sometimes at home at Old Trafford, the owners will be on them to break down lower block teams. Last season, we saw the way they struggled against Bournemouth and actually lost 3-0 against Bournemouth at home. And with Manchester United, you don't know what you're going to expect. You don't know, they might actually beat Liverpool here today. They lose to Crystal Palace. They lose to Bournemouth. They draw with Manchester City. They beat Chelsea. They are very inconsistent. And this is because of the structure and the way in which that team plays. So you don't know what you are expecting with Manchester United. Another thing about Manchester United is that their lack of goals, and we actually saw this even in the Community Shield. They did not manage to replicate the number of goals they are supposed to score so that they can actually become a stronger team next season. But when you look at teams like Chelsea scored more goals than Man United. In fact, last season, Man United had a negative GD, negative goal difference, meaning that they conceded more goals than they scored. Rasmus Højlund is already out injured. They actually brought Van Nistelrooy to actually come and try and improve their strikers. And we don't know which type of Marcus Rashford we're actually going to get this season. We don't know if he's going to be scoring a lot of goals. So there's a lot of problems with Manchester United. But I have to give them credit, and I'm actually giving them a close 5th, meaning that they will actually be maybe 1 point behind 4th or 2 points behind 4th because they have actually brought in some players in their defense. For them, last season, they conceded a lot of goals because they would not be able to field in a defense. So remember, I'm giving Manchester United fifth is actually improving them, because last season they finished eighth. So they're actually moving three positions higher. They are moving from eighth to finish at fifth. So I'm actually being good to them, because I've actually said they're actually going to improve. So they're actually going to improve those 3 steps, because they're going to concede less goals compared to last season. Because they have brought in centre backs, definitely. They have brought in Matthias De Ligt is there. They have brought in Yoro. And you are seeing that their defense will improve. And because their defense will improve, they will concede less. But I just don't see them being able to nick that edge into the top 4 places, because they will be very concerned about maybe trying to win the Europa League and trying to enter the Champions League through winning the Europa League. And because they will be focused on trying to win the Europa League, they might actually not be during the last, maybe during around the April, May, or March, April, May, they will be, if they will be in the Europa League, they will concentrate more on the Europa League, and they will lose some league games. So they will drop some points in the league, because they will be like, we can actually get into the Champions League by winning the Europa League. And that is actually a plus, because they can win they can win the Europa League, and they can win a trophy in that process, and actually get to the Champions League. So my prediction for fifth is Manchester United. Now we move on to my prediction for fourth place. My prediction for fourth place. So who do you think I'm actually going to pick for fourth? Who's actually going to be picked for fourth place? Who's actually going to be picked for fourth place? I'm waiting for some comments here. Any prediction for fourth? Who's going to finish fourth in this prediction today? Somebody is saying us. Why do you think Chelsea is going to finish fourth? Chelsea, I can have Chelsea to be the champions. Chelsea. I think the season I think the season are better than Liverpool, so Liverpool should be at number 4, or Arsenal. Liverpool, Chelsea, fourth. So who is going to finish fourth? So let me share my screen and actually present to you who's going to finish fourth. And yeah. And I think some of you got it right. Yeah, Chelsea will finish fourth. That is my opinion. And they will finish fourth close with Manchester United. It's only a game around April or March that will determine who finishes fourth. Manchester United can also finish fourth, but it's a tight call. And Chelsea can also finish eighth. So why am I picking Chelsea to finish fourth? First of all, last season, towards the end of the season, Chelsea won their last 6 Premier League games. They didn't even draw one. They won their last 6 Premier League games. So they won 18 points in their last 6 games. So when you take 18 points from, how many points did Chelsea have last season? Let me check. Chelsea actually accrued 18 points towards the end of the season. So let me check. Meaning that Chelsea actually managed to improve towards the end of the season. Now, because Chelsea actually managed to improve towards the end of the season, they might actually take this momentum onto next season. Yes, good afternoon also. So they might actually take this momentum into this season, because last season, first of all, the team was actually signed. It was a new team. No, let's just look at the form chart here. Let me share this tab instead. Now, when you look at this tab here, when you look at the Premier League table here, you can see that only three teams managed to be to finish on great form. The first team was Manchester City, who ended up winning the league. Arsenal also. And the next team in that list is what? It's Chelsea. That is the next list. Chelsea had 63 points. If you take away 18 points from the 63 points, you're going to find that Chelsea actually had how many points? Can we do some quick math? If you take we decide just to look at the points, the differential based on how Chelsea managed to play last season, you'll realize that acquiring 18 points in the last 6 games of the season was quite impressive, because these are points that you didn't expect Chelsea to actually have. These are points that you didn't expect Chelsea to have last season. And the turnaround happened when Mauricio Pochettino decided to use Cucurella in that inverted fullback role. And that is when we actually came back to ask ourselves, who is the most important player to Chelsea? And we came to conclude that it was Marc Cucurella. And prior to the 6 games, Chelsea actually had 45 points. Prior to these 6 games, these last 6 games that you're seeing here, Chelsea had 45 points. So 45 points, meaning that Chelsea were only 5 points clear from relegation. 5 points. Then after these 6 games they won at the end of the season, they actually managed to finish 6th. So this is a momentum that Chelsea actually carried on towards the end of the season. And some fans were like, I hope that we would have had like another 2 games. We would have actually finished in the top 4. True. If Chelsea managed to have 2 games extra, maybe they had 2 games in hand, they would have won those 2 games, and probably they would have had 69 points. So Chelsea would have been playing in the Champions League rather than playing in the Conference League. So I believe that last season, the problem that we had earlier on was that the player chemistry was not there. Players had not played together. Remember, we had actually brought in a lot of players. Palmer was coming in. Jackson was coming in. Gusto was coming in. Christopher Nkunku was coming in. We didn't see, I think Colwill was also somehow coming into the team. Sanchez, Petrovic. So we had a lot of players coming into the first team. And because these players were coming into the first team, there was no cohesion. There was no in-game understanding. We did not see those 1-2 link-up plays that we saw with Jackson and Palmer. These things, we started to see them towards the end of the season. Towards the end of the season is when we started to see Chelsea playing well. It's when we started to see a pattern of play. And this is a team, remember, that was actually just holding on to try and carry on the momentum towards the latter games of the season. And we saw Chelsea playing really, really beautiful football. Even the FA Cup semi-final, remember, it was Jackson who missed a lot of chances. Chelsea should have beaten Manchester City in that FA Cup semi-final. And because of looking at those key metrics, and I'm looking at a Chelsea team that is much more improved this season, because first of all, we understand that Noni Madueke, we have seen him improve. Palmer has already established himself in the team. Enzo and Caicedo and Lavia, we've also seen Lavia coming in. Lavia is playing well. Caicedo, by the way, towards the end of the season was actually playing really well. Enzo Fernandez, we have also seen him in pre-season getting back to his best. Nicholas Jackson actually scored 14 goals last season, which was good because he was not taking penalties. Probably if he was taking penalties ahead of Palmer, maybe Jackson would have scored 20 goals. We might not know that. The problem that Chelsea had last season was defense. Chelsea actually conceded a lot of goals last season. Look at the goals against, 63 goals against. 63. Chelsea conceded 63 goals, but they scored 77. If Chelsea just conceded the number of goals that Liverpool conceded, that is 41 goals, Chelsea would have even be competing for number 3. So this season, the main aim for Chelsea is not necessarily to try, if they can maintain the number of goals they scored last season. Just look at the number of goals, 77 goals. If Chelsea managed to maintain those number of goals this season and reduce the number of goals conceded by even, let's just say that they reduced the number of goals conceded by 20. So if they conceded 63 goals, so this season they just concede 43 goals throughout the season, or 45 goals throughout the season. Where do you expect Chelsea to finish? They will be comfortably in the top 4. So the main aim, and what I'm seeing Enzo Maresca is actually doing, is actually looking to try and create that structure, the ability to control games. So do I think that Chelsea will impose themselves in the beginning of the season? No. So what I expect from Chelsea is that the first 10 games are going to be very difficult for Chelsea. The first 10 games. Why am I expecting the first 10 games to be difficult? It is because Chelsea now will be playing that Enzo Maresca's football. And in the first 5 games, we might actually be caught out playing from the back. Maresca wants us to play from the back. So there is a point in the game, you just expect it. It's there. You're going to see Sanchez making a blunder, or you're going to see Benoit Badiashile making a blunder during build-up. It is there. It is there. It is there in the first. There's a mistake in the first 10 games. You're going to see it. It's there. But after the first 10 games, when the team will, Enzo Maresca said this, that in preseason, he actually did not have a lot of time with the players, because they were actually traveling in the US. So they didn't have a very good preseason. They didn't have enough time. He didn't have enough time to work. And actually this week and last week is the time he has had to work with the players. And you saw in the game against Inter, there was some slight improvements. So I expect that even this week, there will be an improvement in how they are going to approach that Manchester City game. And because we are going to see Chelsea start to play this Enzo Maresca ball, the first 10 games might be tricky. But after the 10 games, you're actually going to see Chelsea now having a definite style of play. Now, a lot of people are asking, but Mikel Arteta finished 8th at Arsenal, but Arteta did not have the players that Maresca has. Arteta had players like Kolasinac, Bellerin. These are players who didn't understand Arteta's philosophy. But with Maresca, Cucurella is a good inverted fullback. Fofana is a good defender. Colwill is a good defender. He also has Tosin, who's coming. He's also a good defender. Caicedo and Fernandes and Lavia, excellent midfielders. Cole Palmer is there. Nicholas Jackson is there. McGeough is there. Chelsea are actually bringing in Pedro Neto. Sterling will be there, Noni Madueke will be there. So Chelsea will have that firepower. Now, striking the balance between defense and attack will actually be very key. And if Chelsea are able to play in that structure that Maresca wants his team to play, the WM structure, the 3-2-2-3 structure, then Chelsea are more likely to reduce the number of goals. Number one, because of their close proximity and their ability to counter press. Number two, why Chelsea will concede less goals is because Chelsea this season will be playing possession-based football. Now, when you play possession-based football, what you realize is that you will actually deny the opponent the number of time he has the ball, because you'll be having the ball majority of the time. And because Chelsea will be looking to dominate the ball, when you have the ball, the opponent cannot score. So even if Chelsea were in some games, they were conceding 4 goals, this season maybe they might concede 2 goals. A lot of people have written Chelsea off because of the preseason. And I've been very, very confident when I was saying that don't be afraid, do not be afraid. And I'm actually really positive when I'm telling you Chelsea will finish 4th, because towards the end of the season, that is when you actually get to get the real position. If Chelsea can just be within touching distance of 4th place, touching distance, meaning that you're just behind the 4th team with around 6 points or 7 points or 8 points. When you enter around December, January, April, then now you'll find the rhythm of the team has kicked in, because Chelsea now will be playing a lot of games. So the way they move the ball, the way they play the ball, you'll just see the team will improve. And because I predict Chelsea to actually improve from around November, December, January, that's why I expect Chelsea to really, really mount a top 4 charge. That is where I expect Chelsea to mount a top 4 charge. And this is going to be really scary for the opponents, because everybody has written off Chelsea. But when I believe that I believe in positional play, and I see Chelsea improving. But the first 10 games, the first 10 to 15 games, I don't think a lot of you will attack me. They will say, oh, Tyrone, you are lying. How are we going to finish 4th? Look at how we are playing. Look at how we are being caught up when we are trying to build up. We really played as, because we are going to play at Stamford Bridge, and we are going to get a team that is actually going to come back and sit deep. And Chelsea will just pass the ball, and people will get bored. So the frustration will kick in. But you have to be patient with the manager. And I believe the few weeks he has been here, we have seen some changes. Actually, even working on that defense line, we saw some changes. And I'm really happy, because a lot of people do not understand the significance of that draw against Inter. And I want to explain to you the significance of that draw. Remember, Inter are the Italian champions. The team that actually won the Serie A was Inter, if I'm right. It's Inter. And Inter really played well. Also, do not forget that Inter were actually in the Champions League the previous season before this one. So Inter is a very good team. They managed to limit Inter from counter attacks. They managed to break down and cause problems to Inter, and they actually managed to dominate that game. And I've done a tactical analysis video on that. So if you think Chelsea played like that against the Italian champions, and remember, we drew that game because we were wasteful in front of goal, and we were unable to finish our chances. That is the reason why we drew that game. In fairness, if we had our shooting boots, we should have won that game maybe 4-3. So when I look at that game and I watched it and I watched it again, I am seeing that if we actually face other teams in the Premier League, we'll be able to destroy them. We'll be able to destroy teams that play in a back five. We'll be able to destroy teams that play in a back four. But I believe the reason why we'll not finish third or second or first is because we'll struggle in the beginning of the season. But we are actually more likely to pick on towards the end of the season. And that's why I had Chelsea finishing fourth. Now, let me give you the team that I expect to finish third. The team that I expect to finish third. The team that I actually expect to finish third. It's not going to come as a surprise to you. So we are going to share it here. So share the screen. So this is the team that I actually expect to finish third. So the team that we are actually going to finish third is Liverpool. Liverpool will finish third. We already did Manchester United, and Manchester United, we placed them at close fifth, meaning it can flip to fourth. So I'm going to pick Liverpool to finish third because, first of all, I have seen them in preseason. The squad has not changed. The squad is still the same. But Alisson is there, Virgil is there, and McAllister. Szoboszlai has improved. Remember, and Slot actually wanted Szoboszlai, and he's actually one of the players who stepped to really improve and Slot. Salah is back to his rhythm. Jota is back. Luis Diaz is back. So Liverpool, the entire team is there. So the entire core of players are there. Slot is not coming in to actually create a new philosophy of football. No, he's just coming to make some slight changes in the system that Klopp did. And last season, they actually managed to be around 15 points or 16 points ahead of the team that finished fourth. So I just don't see how Liverpool will lose their strength this season, but they're not going to win the league, but they will actually mount a title charge somewhere in between the league. And even looking at the first 10 fixtures, for example, if you are playing in the Fanta FPL league, you need to bring in some Liverpool assets. They have very, 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 very good assets. They have very easy fixtures. I think even by game week 10, Liverpool will be the team that will be top of the table. Mark this. Game week 10, Liverpool will be the team that is at the top of the table. They have very easy fixtures. The first 10 fixtures for Liverpool are very easy. I don't think if we are playing them, but they are probably just playing Manchester United. They are starting the game with Ipswich. So they are going to win their first game. They are going to win. Game week 5, they will still be the top team. So I'm expecting there will be a lot of improvements in this Liverpool team next season. Now, let's move on to the team that I expect to finish second. Let me move to the team that I expect to finish second. And let me just conclude this because I had to do this. Tomorrow we are going to do a video on what I expect Chelsea to do to actually to actually make themselves finish in that top 4, because also Chelsea can fail to finish in the top 4. But let me showcase the team that I expect to finish second. And here is my team. So the team that I'm expecting to finish second is Arsenal. A lot of you someone here was expecting that I'd say Manchester City. No. Arsenal will finish second. And they will push Manchester City till the end. Actually, it's not that it's a must. They can actually even win the league. They can actually win the league, actually. A lot of people are tipping Arsenal to win the league. But I remember what I saw. I remember what I had. I watched Manchester City all or nothing Netflix show, and I heard Rodri saying this. We've won the Premier League 4 times in the last 5 seasons. How can they write us off? How can they write us off? And when you look at Arsenal, there's that level of fear they have towards Manchester City. So I don't know if they're able to evade that fear, but they will push Manchester City till the end. But again, I expect the experience of Manchester City to help them edge the league. It will be Pep Guardiola's final season, probably. But Arsenal have not even signed a striker. Manchester City have Haaland. De Bruyne is there. Bernardo Silva is there. Rodri is there. Doku is there. Grealish is there. Ruben Diaz is there. Akanji is there. Stones is there. Ederson is there. Walker is there. Nathan Ake is there. How do you write off Manchester City from winning the league again? How do you actually write off Manchester City from winning the league? They're the best team in the country. They have the best squad in the country. They are the most experienced team in winning the league. They have won it 4 in the last 5 seasons. So a lot of people are saying Arsenal, this season they are going to edge it close. We wait and see. Maybe the verdict on the 115 charges might win the Arsenal the league, or might create some disharmony within the team. But the mentality, I've seen the way Manchester City are in the dressing room. Those guys have the beast mentality. They have that beast mentality. And I don't think Pep, maybe something might happen. Maybe Rodri can get injured. If Rodri gets injured, then probably Arsenal will win the league, because Manchester City are not going to win those leagues. But or the charges might actually make Manchester City lose some points, making Arsenal win the league. But if everything remains constant, Manchester City are going to win the Premier League. Again. I think it's something that we need to actually get used to it, because I don't see, maybe they lose Rodri for some games or so, and they lose some points, but this team is even hungry. I even saw them winning the Community Shield, and they had that spirit. They want to win it again. So yeah, that is my prediction. But Arsenal can also win the league, but that is my prediction. Manchester City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, Manchester United, Spurs, Newcastle, Aston Villa, West Ham, and Crystal Palace at 10th. So thank you for joining me in this live stream, and I hope to see you again in the next live stream. So thank you, and see you again. Bye.